9 Jews and 1 Samaritan. I'm going somewhere now back. Now the Jews knew the only thing that kept them from going to church, the only thing that kept them from being welcomed back into the community, the only thing that kept them off their job, the only thing that kept them from enjoying what everybody else enjoyed was their leprosy. So naturally, they couldn't wait to go see the priest so they could once again function as an accepted part of society. See, because once they were healed, they could go back to church. Once they were healed, they could go back to work. Once they were healed, they could go back to the movie. Once they were healed, they could go back home. Once they were healed, they could go back to the mall. Once they were healed, they could hang out with everybody else. So they couldn't wait to get to the priest. But that was not the testimony of the Samaritan. You see, he had a twofold problem. Touch your neighbor and say his situation was a little different. Not only was he a leper, but he was also a Samaritan. You see, long before he became a victim of leprosy, he was already a victim of prejudice and hatred. You see, the Jews had no dealings with the Samaritans. As a matter of fact, the disdain that a Jew had for a Samaritan was so great that if the shadow of a Samaritan fell upon a Jew, the Jew would immediately go and bathe himself because the shadow of a Samaritan would make a Jew unclean. Are y'all praying with me? So unlike his Jewish counterparts, this Samaritan knew that even though he had been healed of the leprosy, the Jewish priest and the Jewish community still wouldn't have no use for him. Are y'all praying with me? So I would imagine that as he left Jesus, he thought to himself, I know Jesus told me to go to the priest. And I know obedience is better than sacrifice. He said, but my situation is just a little bit different. He said, I know where the Lord told me to go. But the reality is I really don't have anywhere else to go. The priests don't want me. The community don't want me. Society doesn't want me. I wish I had somebody. And saints of God, I believe at that very moment, he found out what others of us have found out. And that is, you've got a different kind of situation, and you have to have a different kind of approach. I wish I had somebody. Even though your stuff might look like everybody else's, your answer can't always be their answer. Your approach can't always be their approach. See, everybody else had somewhere to go, but this fella had nowhere else to go. But look at your neighbor and say, but here comes a shout right here. He found out just like I found out and just like you found out. When you don't have anywhere else to go, you can always go to the Lord. I wish I had some help in here. Is there anybody that knows, no matter how rough it's been, no matter how hard it's been, no matter how difficult it's been, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it feels like, if you can't go anywhere else, you can go to the Lord. Blow up from the floor, but I can go to the Lord. Beat and scorned, but I can go to the Lord. Battered and bruised, but I can go to the Lord. Broke, busted, and disgusted, but I can go to the Lord. I wish I had an old church in here. I came to Jesus just as I was. I was weary, I was wounded, and I was sad, but I found in him a resting place, and he has made me glad. Is there anybody in here that's glad today? Because you got the Lord, and the Lord got you. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, oh neighbor, if you can't go nowhere else, you can always go to God. And I got one somebody who will lift up your voice and tell God, thank you for always being there. Thank you for always making a way. Thank you for always turning around. Thank you for always working it out. Tell him thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ah, thank you. No, he's all right. I wish I had some help.